Hi guys,
Hello, everybody.
we should be live. Coming to you live again on Facebook. Okay, good, it's working.
Nice.
Okay, so welcome to this episode. This episode is all about really finding the gold in difficult situations and knowing that you can develop that sense of finding the gold. It's not always easy, but it's available to you. And we're going to talk all about that. And we've had some different things come up in the past, I would say, a couple of months actually.
Yeah, so what sparked this episode initially that we knew we were going to create this was about a month ago. We were roller skating.
Was it already a month?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Downtown St. Pete. We were by the water. It was a beautiful day out, and Lindsay was very excited to try out her new roller skates. And I created a couple of videos of you right before that. You were excited, like, oh look, I'm skating, and I videotaped it, and then she ended it up about 15 minutes later, hitting a piece of mulch and falling over, and then injuring both of her elbows. Which that's what sparked this episode.
Fracturing
Because of the pain, literally fracturing both of her elbows. I became her arms and her hands. And it wasn't too bad because about 3 or 4 days after that, we ended up, you could take the cast off and all that. So that was, thankfully, they were just subtle fractures. But that first 4 days, it was like all this pain and this, suffering in a way where we're like, wow, what are we going to do now? Like we have to literally shift our whole life around. And then we start to remember in painful situations, that's where a lot of wisdom is, right? Even when you think back in your life, you think back to the most painful situations you've ever went through, I guarantee they're the ones that you've built the most skill, the most strength, and the most insight from. And that's what initially sparked it, was what happened a month ago. And then unfortunately, within the last week, there was a tragedy in my family with my cousin passing away, which we're not going to go into detail on this, obviously, but it was very unfortunate, and it was the most painful situation that you can go through, right? It makes what we went through a month ago with Lindsay's elbows, where it's like, that's not bad at all, right?
Yeah.
And you could always look at that. You think about a lot of your painful situations, what you're going through right now. Think about it in this moment. What are you going through right now? What's been pissing you off coming up over and over that's nagging at you? Is it really a problem, right? If it's not something that's health related or anything like that, it's not as big of a problem as it could be, right? And if it's a problem that money can solve, right, you could always make more money. You could figure out that. So I hope this episode kind of puts that in perspective, to where we're thinking about our problems in a new way.
Well, and a month before that, we had another
young
person pass in our life too. So it was back-to-back stuff. And just kind of going back to the fall, because I feel like there were so many nuggets in the fall. I've shared with our membership community all the details behind it, but of course, when it's happening, I don't usually want to share something that's going on in the moment, because when you're going through difficult times, you want to be able to process it and go through the feelings. Yeah. And looking back on it, it's not a big deal compared to the death that has come up, with death as a whole process. But it's important for you to remember that when you're going through difficult times, to honor those difficult times as difficult times, not avoid it, not push it aside and think, oh, I shouldn't be upset about this. Because I kind of want to go into a little bit of detail, because it wasn't even necessarily the pain. Like right now, my arms are healing. There's some black and blues on it, but really it's not a big deal. I can move them. I can feed myself. I can do everything else that I couldn't do that Tony was doing for me. But when it first happened, I was like, ooh, that's weird. My elbows hurt. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to get up and take off my skates, which I couldn't. And then I'm like, I don't want to leave this day on this note of falling and stopping skating after having fun for the 20 minutes that I did. So I'm like, let's just go get ice cream. And I was able to eat the ice cream slowly. And then when I got home, I'm like, okay, it's time to go to urgent care, because now I'm having some pain in my elbows, and I just want to make sure that they're not broken. Like if they're bruised, that's fine. But for some reason, I knew something was wrong, because I couldn't even hold Romeo's leash. It was falling out of my hand. And it was actually in the urgent care that was my most difficult moment, because it was more of the mental piece to it, where I was having a panic attack during the process. I was sweating because they said that they came in, she's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, you broke both of your arms. You're going to be walking out of here in big casts. And then all of a sudden it was those moments of like, oh my God, wait, how am I going to do this, this, and that? And then when they put on the cast on one arm, I felt so restricted. I felt so trapped. Are you laughing at what I said?
Yeah, because when we were
I
inside
didn't remember
there,
I said it until Tony told me.
Lindsay asked the person, she said, how am I supposed to go to the bathroom? And the guy was like the sweetest guy. He paused for a moment. He's like, that's a good question, actually. So
we had to have some humor after the situation. I don't remember.
It wasn't
asking
funny in
that.
the moment. It was more like, yeah, how is she?
Yeah, I felt like I was gonna pass out when they were trying to put this cast on, and it wasn't just one cast. It was from from here. If you guys are seeing the video, from here where you could just wiggle your fingers to the top of my arm. So it was on both arms with slings, and to walk out of there, I literally had to go sideways through the door. And I felt completely trapped. Like, I'm a very independent person. And Tony, you've always known that I'm independent, but even more so when you have to ask someone to feed you, or to expect someone else to feed you, and to anything else you could imagine, to be done during this time. And I started to really recognize why elderly people move so slow when they have to be so careful. I was always very compassionate about elderly people, but even more so now when this happened. And I kept praying and saying, doing Joe Dispenza's meditations and imagine myself lifting weights, even though I couldn't move my hands. And I had moments where I felt strong. I'm like, well, we decided we're going to go outside and we're going to walk and move the energy and circulate. Tony was giving energy healing. I had my students actually sending me healing, which I'm so grateful for, my members. And then I started to switch my mindset, and I noticed the golden nugget in it because I had received a spiritual message from it. And then after that situation, I kept on visualizing, okay, they're wrong. Urgent care said 6 to 8 weeks. I have my retreat coming up. I would have still done the retreat, but I didn't want to have to go to the retreat and cast like that. But then we just visualized and focused on everything that we could. And I had Tony taking care of me and doing everything for me, luckily. And I had friends sending food and gifts, and it was a time of receiving, and I'm going into detail about this because there's so many moments in your life where you're the giver, and there's times where it could feel uncomfortable to receive. And I was literally forced to receive food, someone feeding me, someone taking care of me in that way. And it's going to feel uncomfortable at times when you're going through difficult times, but it's important to receive. And that was one of the many gifts that I received.
Definitely, because that is part of why you can find gold in situations like this, is from the people in your life. So whether it's that situation or the situation with my cousin, with our other close,
Paris.
you call it family member too, a couple months ago, it's receiving from other people the love and support. Like, without that, with the extreme cases, you can't get through it. You can't just go inside of your house and stay there. You need to go out and be around and receive love from other people. And then with the small things like that we think are smaller, these painful situations, that's how we extract gold too, is a lot of times it's tied to receiving from other people, right? Because when we're going through struggle, right, it's natural for the people that love you that they want to help you.
Right.
And if you have this block up, over time, the people stop helping you because they naturally sense, oh, they don't need help. And then you get to a point in your life where you're like, wait, why am I not receiving help? Oh, I put that block up 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I said all that just to say like how powerful it is to stay open to receiving help if you want to develop this skill of seeing the gold in the most painful situation. It's a muscle that you build the same way you go to the gym to build all your muscles. every painful situation or negative situation, stressful situation that comes up, each time that you see the gold in it, you train your brain, you wire your mind, you wire your being, everything in you to see that way. So then naturally, when something else painful comes up, another struggle comes up, you're already seeing the gold in it, right? Like some people, it might take a year to process the gold. Some people, if they're like you and you're exercising it every single day, you could see the gold almost immediately. You might be pissed off still and feeling the energy in the moment, but your brain is trained to see the gold. So now you're speeding this process up that we call suffering. And that's what this podcast episode is about. So, like, what, a week ago, we took another Tony Robbins event, UPW, and he mentioned again the power of being in a beautiful state no matter what, right? Not trying to force yourself to feel positive.
Yeah, this isn't fake positivity.
Not fake positivity, not any of that. A beautiful state, meaning a fun, playful, loving, any state of mind that you could think of that is a beautiful state of mind. Like, you focus on being there, and if something pisses you off or something triggers you, right, you could still be pissed off, you could still be triggered, but you're deciding to cut that down, right? Before, it might take you a week to overcome something, and then it's 3 days, and then it's 3 hours, but you're getting better at, limiting the things. Even though you're feeling pissed off, you're feeling triggered, but you're deciding this life is way too short to go around bitching and complaining and focusing on negativity for too long. I'm deciding right now to be in a beautiful state no matter what. And I think this goes with this episode because life is going to keep coming. There's going to be negative
there's
situations
always going to be something happening
every single day. And if your brain is trained to see those, you're going to see them even more so, right? Because whatever you're looking for, what's right is available, what's wrong is available. Always. You get to decide what you're going to choose to focus on.
Yeah. And this is the one thing that I would say in the golden nuggets, because now they just pop up like this for me, even like right after that situation, that little situation, looking back on it, happened. It was very clear to see the message because I was aware of what happened. I went through the pain, physical and mental, for that moment. I took my time. I really had to slow down. It forces you to slow down. So when you're in difficult times, you're forced to slow down even if you don't want to. It does slow you down. And then going through that mode of, okay, what do I need to see in this? Like, why did this come up? Why did this situation come up? Or not why did this happen to me, but what benefits have come from this situation? I didn't want this situation to happen, but it did happen. So what are the things that actually came up that were very good for me? Did it bring people together? Did it have me open my heart more? Did it cause me to slow down and restructure things in, my life or my business? These are all questions that you can ask yourself, like, how did this benefit me? And I would say, like, the past 3 years specifically, a lot of people have been going through ups and downs in their life. So there's going to be moments where you're going to find, like, okay, I'm sick of the lessons. I just want to move on and I just want to live my life. And you can. But if something comes up, you can always find it. You can always find the gold in that. So it's taking time to process the emotions, going through the pain, not around it and avoiding it. Being open to receive, that means opening your heart to let people do things for you if it comes up, or being open to receive the messages, and really allowing yourself to figure out, okay, how is this a learning experience for me? Is there anything I can do different, or is there anything I can gain from this?
Yeah, exactly. And while you're doing all that, not forcing the process, not forcing yourself to, I don't need to feel that right now, so let me just be positive right now. That's not what this is about. It's you have a time period to where you need to feel certain situations for so long to actually extract the gold out of it. If you don't feel it, that's part of extracting the gold. Is right. If you're looking for gold physically, you got to feel around. I've never looked for it, but you got to do something, right? You got to do some physical work. Same thing. You're doing the physical work here by feeling the emotion, right? If it's a tragic situation, like with what happened with my cousin, that's going to take a while. Like, we're still processing it. I'm still realizing that really even happened. So it's like certain situations take longer than other situations. So you're staying aware of that too. You're staying aware of allowing yourself to feel what you're actually feeling. So then you could begin to be honest with it and then extract that gold. So then you can figure out, like, what's next, like, in my progress here, right?
Yeah. And when it comes to death, and I'm putting in quotes death, but we're all still alive, spiritually connecting. It's a topic that's very difficult because when it comes to death, there's no good thing about someone passing. Like that piece, that will never be a good thing for us here living humanly in our human space on earth. But sometimes death will bring people together. Sometimes death will create awareness. Like I know when Nick passed away, like that process brought me to creating the motorcycle foundation, for motorcycle awareness at the time. It brought me to deepening my connection with the spirit realm. It wasn't overnight, but these are things that I had to figure out in the process. And it's something that could possibly come up when we lose someone. Does it bring people together? What can we gravitate to in a time of loss?
Right, exactly. And then it's tied to the person's legacy too as well. Like what did they stand for? What can I
Exactly
continue in their name, and that kind of situation.
right. And we want to hear from you. Has there been a time in your life where you've dealt with something difficult? It could be anything. It could be big, small. Sometimes in the moment it feels big at that time, and then you look back at your life and you're like, oh, I didn't go through anything compared to what I went through at this time, But still share with us. And what did you do during that process? Did you ignore it? Did you move through it? Did you ask for help or receive help? What did you appreciate from having that happen to you?
Yeah, they can.
And I was going to say, for me, experiencing death in this life and giving readings has helped me become more compassionate to people when they're losing loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like my heart goes out to people that lose loved ones because it is such a painful experience. It could feel really lonely. Nobody understands anyone's grief. Everyone's grief is different. But it has made me so compassionate for people that have lost a loved one because of the pain that I experienced in my own way for my own grief, and then seeing my clients dealing with grief too.
Yeah, just so they extract all of this out too. A way you can do it is in your journal, do a T-chart. Looks like a cross. On the left side put positive and the right side put negative, and then at the top you could write the painful situation you're going through or stressful, and then just go through and list all of the negative things that are coming from it, whether it's emotions, internal, external negative things, and then list all of the positive things that are coming from it. And as you're doing this alone is just going to bring clarity, because a lot of times we focus more on the negative. Mm-hmm. We don't realize we're doing it, and then we forget to see, oh yeah, but look at all this positive that's coming out of it. So you can see that. And another thing that'll happen too, if you think about things years ago that were painful that happened to you, whatever you listed negative back then, I bet some of those things will turn to a positive over time. So like, for example, say you're going through a breakup, the guy left you. It feels negative right now, you feel lonely, and that's one of your negatives at time. But years down the road, that became a positive because it opened up space. Now you have your beautiful husband and you have kids and a life that you never would have had if that didn't open up. A lot of times our problems open up space in our life that was never there before.
That's very true. Very true. I think we covered everything. There's a lot to cover.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to post this episode on YouTube also, but we really want to hear from you. We love hearing your stories and how these episodes have got you to a space of reflection or impacted you in some way. And the more that we share and we interact with each other, we start to recognize that we're not alone. Everyone's dealing with something. Sometimes people don't even know behind the scenes what people are dealing with. So it's really important to be mindful, and then also be mindful of how can you give more? How can you give more to other people that might be going through a difficult time?
Yeah, exactly. You have stuff inside of your heart. You could call it medicine inside of you for the world, right? Life is so short, it goes by so quick. We're reminded of that every year that we live. So it's like it's time to bring that out into the world. Whatever that is inside of you, bring it out. That's your way to contribute to this world and give. We will see you all next time. We appreciate you sharing this time with us, whether it's a replay or live.
See you guys soon.
See you
Bye.
soon.